Hi, welcome to this session, an introduction to Foundation of Courage. My name is Lauren Leaf, and I serve as the Director of Education for the International Fraternity. One major part of my role is to oversee the development of our new member education programs for all chapters and colonies. Over the past year or so, myself, other staff members, and volunteers have been hard at work creating this brand new program for you to take home and utilize with your new members starting this spring. So let's jump to it. During this program, we're going to really be hands-on with the materials. So I'm going to be switching back and forth between my screens a little bit. I hope you don't get dizzy. Let's begin with the why. So why do we need a new program? There's four main goals of this program. We're looking that every new member and initiated brother is able to develop healthy, meaningful interpersonal relationships between one another. Second, this new program will introduce courageous leadership as a framework that is essential learning in the fraternity. Every new member, and eventually every initiated member, will have gained this foundation and an introduction to the Courageous Leaders Framework. Number three, you've heard a lot about self-destructive behaviors this academy. This program is one puzzle piece in helping chapters to eradicate those self-destructive behaviors. And number four, this program will create one consistent new member experience for all chapters. The Phi Gamma Delta new member experience will have consistency. But what will our new members gain, you might be asking? Well, we hope a lot. We hope that they're able to apply. You'll notice as we start to review the program, there's not a lot of memorization. It's about application to one's life. Develop relationships based upon honesty, trust, and accountability, both with each other, with brothers, with guests, with friends and family. We hope that this program will help you retain your new members, retain your brothers, and keep them actively engaged. This program will prepare your new members to jump right into fraternity business and activities. And all of your new members will be familiar with the expectations of membership in the fraternity, as well as the courageous leadership model. But what will our new member education team gain? Maybe you weren't asking this question. This is an addition to our previous layout. So this program offers just as much to our new member education team or facilitators as it does to the new members. It's our hope that they'll be able to copy and paste this list right onto their resume and add buzzwords such as communicate, evaluate, respond and direct, identify successful initiatives, and meet intended outcomes. They'll be able to predict new member needs based upon their interactions with the new members, recognize hazing behaviors and other self-destructive behaviors, and practice their facilitation, conflict mediation, and management of others' emotions, as well as defining their own adequate prep time for each activity in their curriculum. Another shift in this program is that we have three main blocks of key players. Of course, we have our new members. Without the new members, what's the point of the program? We also have our new member educators. Depending on your chapter or colony, that might be one person or it might be an entire committee. We definitely suggest at least a chair and an assistant to make this program successful. And then you'll see that there are ample opportunities for potential big brothers and eventually current big brothers to be involved with each one of these programs. You'll also see, once this is launched, post-academy, that you have far more resources and things pulled together than you might have in the old program, including a mirrored facilitation guide. We'll get into what a mirrored facilitation guide is in a little bit. Pre-done, branded professional Phi Gamma Delta slides to utilize with your new members. A workbook based on the foundation program that your new members will be able to take notes in and complete the program's activities. You'll continue to use the Purple Pilgrim, though it'll be a little bit different than we're used to. We've also supplemented with 3 key online courses for all of your new members to take. They're also great refreshers for any cabinet members or chapter brothers that just need to brush up. And of course, myself and your field staff, as well as the other IHQ staff members, are always available as a resource. And don't forget to utilize your Purple Legionnaire and your Board of Chapter Advisor members. They will make you successful. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. This program is arranged into 3 different experience types. You can think of them as buckets, if you will. The first bucket we'll talk about are event experiences. So these are experiences that fall on a calendar. So for example, the first one that we'll talk about in a little bit is the Introduction to Brotherhood. That, of course, occurs right after bid acceptance. There's also a Big Little reveal and a post-initiation debrief. The second bucket are learning experiences. These are maybe what we would have considered our traditional new member education, sort of classroom setting experiences. And then the last bucket are menu experiences. These are a choose your own adventure, make your own journey type of things for your new members to get to know each other as well as the chapter. We're going to start with the end in mind. So this might look a little bit overwhelming right now, but we're going to come back to it, and at the end, it'll make perfect sense. But just to point out a few landmarks, you can see on the Sunday of week 1, we have the bids were distributed. And then on the Friday of week 8, initiation. So we're going to then go back in and puzzle piece all of these programs however your chapter wants to do them. The only things that have to be done in order are those event experiences because they fall in a calendar. Learning experiences and menu experiences can be placed in whatever order, in whatever week that you are looking to do. I use the 8-week calendar because that's what we see for most chapters. The guide will also include a 6-week calendar and a 4-week calendar examples for those that utilize those. All right, so give me one quick second and we will swap over to our facilitation guide. So this is an entire manual that you will get that outlines all 3 experience types, exactly how to do them. So let us go ahead and flip through all of it. So you'll see this is a mirrored facilitation guide. We'll zoom forward to this screen so that you can kind of get a better feel for it. Looking at this as a book, so imagine that you printed it out. The side on the left that says Brotherhood Welcome has the specific instructions for you as a new member educator, or perhaps as a chapter officer or cabinet member that's stepping in to assist. So these have the very specific instructions. So for example, give instruction for the activity, instruct new members to get into groups of 5 and turn to page 4 and 5 in their workbooks. Well, page 4 and 5 of their workbooks is titled Who's With Me? It's on the right-hand side there. So when you're looking at your book, you can see both your pages and their pages as opposed to trying to flip back and forth. You'll also see on the facilitation page the little boxes. So right in here, these 4 boxes. These are the slides that you should be showing. So again, instead of trying to juggle all these different pieces, you can see this specifically is what should be shown on the screen. This is what page our new member should be looking at, and these are my instructions as a facilitator. You'll see it's quite detailed, much more detailed than in the past. This is to help you develop your facilitation skills, again, create that continuity between experiences, and sometimes it's just good when you're a little bit nervous. So the Brotherhood Welcome experience occurs directly after bids are distributed. So as we think back to that calendar, this would be the first thing we kind of puzzle piece in there. The purpose of this event is to look at their new member class. So the new members will get to know each other with this activity. You'll go over the Dear New Member letter, which should seem pretty familiar. Facilitate a discussion about the letter. So again, directly in our guide, there's some questions there. What about these letters speaks to the hopes you mentioned in your introduction? What about growing in leadership feels challenging and what feels exciting? These are the types of conversations that will truly allow your new members to open up and feel engaged and active within your organization. The next step is to go over the Bill of Rights, Risk Management and Hazing Policy. And then to review your semester schedule with the new members. So this is a page that you will have filled out with the schedule that you have built for them. And it also gives you a place to have some really critical conversations. So how much do I have to pay in dues, and how much and when are they due, and how do I do that? Where do I log into phigam.org, and how do I register myself as a member of Phi Gamma Delta? And what Purple Pilgrim chapters need to be read by each week? So this offers your new members some structure, some organization, so that they know what's coming up, they can be on time, and they can be prepared. And so can you. Our big little reveal is the next thing. So this, of course, would fall somewhere in between bid acceptance and initiation. The overall guiding principles of the Big Little Reveal program are that we want the new members to understand that this is a mentorship and a partnership. We also want our big brothers to understand that this is a partnership and that they must be an active big brother. This program actually begins by asking you as a facilitator to bring the bigs there about 15 minutes early so you can review this. What you're going to do once the new members get there is they're going to go through their expectations of a big brother. You will do a big brother oath, which appears there in their guide as well as on the screen. And then the bigs and the littles are going to kind of compare notes on their expectations in this mentorship relationship. And then our final event experience is post-initiation orientation. So you'll still continue to use your post-initiation education notebooks that have been provided by the International Fraternity. No part of this new member education program includes the esoteric information, so you'll need to review back there. But this should serve as a good conversation point for what's going on right after initiation to kind of help them understand and make meaning of all the symbols, the founding information, any history they learned, so that they are prepared to be active values-based members of your chapter. That brings us up to our learning experiences. So these are the traditional, what may have previously been sort of a classroom experience. You'll see that we've boiled down maybe your 8, 6, or 4-week program into these 3 key areas, 3 key learning experiences. Each one of these learning experiences also has a matching online, quick, easy course for them to take that matches the same title. You'll also note that this section encourages the new members to read their Purple Pilgrim ahead of time. So they've done this course, they've read their Purple Pilgrim, so that way you can really spend your time talking about the content, not drilling in the names of the Immortal Six. So the history of the fraternity section might be a little bit different than what your chapter is used to doing, because it's all about making meaning and placing yourself, or the new members placing themselves, into the story of Phi Gamma Delta. So we do still cover those really critical aspects, including the founding of Phi Gamma Delta. And so we're talking about, why do you think the content of the founding story is important to learn? Not what is the content, but why is it important, and how does it inform the importance of fraternity? We'll then talk about the Immortal Six and do a compare contrast. So as the new member, will find theirs, compare and contrast themselves with the founder as groups. And these also, again, have specific page markers that you'll tell them to turn to within their purple program that might have a few tips to fill out the activity. This portion of history of the fraternity focuses on exploring some important dates. So you can either utilize the list of dates that are given on the slides, or maybe there's some chapter specific history events that you'd like your new members to explore. But we're talking about the why and the who. And then this section ends with sort of a goal setting activity. So really placing yourself as a new member into the story of the chapter and Phi Gamma Delta. So setting some personal and professional goals for the time as a new member, time as an undergraduate brother, and the time as a graduate brother, because we all know that it is not for college days alone. And last but not least in the learning experiences is the legacy of the fraternity. Legacy of the fraternity is pretty easy, actually. What it really is, it's the courageous leadership framework. So by attending Academy, you're going to be pretty familiar with the things that I show you here, where we're reviewing the courageous leader framework. So the 3 elements of courageous leadership, where it gives you an opportunity to talk to your new members about the values of Phi Gamma Delta, recognizing the testing points and the 4 types of testing points, and then applying values of the testing point and confronting those issues. You are facilitating conversations. The one big addition here is going to be that we're adding in some self-driven scenarios. So the new members will actually pull together a list of the testing points that they're already facing as maybe first-year students or first semester fraternity men, and how do we face those testing points? And the business of the fraternity. So this is the 3rd learning experience where we are really talking about the nuts and bolts that make the fraternity run. So as part of the LMS course, they will have reviewed the national, international organizational structure and be familiar with things like the ecclesia and the arcanet. This section will allow you to spend time really talking about your own chapter's leadership structure. So reviewing the organizational chart, as well as talking about some goal setting in terms of leadership positions that your new members would like to take. The business of the fraternity section asks that you invite key cabinet officers or committee chairs to just do their elevator pitch about what do they do. And so as you're doing the elevator pitch, your new members are filling out our chapter's leadership structure page and talking through, talking through how they hope to grow during their undergraduate experience, any current knowledge, skills, and talents, or things that they're already working on, and how specific committees that they'd heard about that day can use their skills or help them achieve their goals, or how they can help the chapter thrive. You'll do a little bit of work on Robert's Rules of Order so that they are prepared to attend your business meetings, and also review what goes on in a business meeting after all. And that brings us to our menu experiences. So this is a very exciting opportunity for some customization, really. So this area has 6 kind of sub-buckets, you could call them. The first one's called Adulting 101. These are skills for the modern fraternity man. So these programs facilitate life skills. So these are things that we're looking to translate past the undergraduate membership experience. So some options: professional school, attire and etiquette for success in the workplace. The menu experiences are an excellent place to involve your graduate brothers, your campus resources, your IFC resources, anything that's out there that can help you make your new members better members. So for example, that first one, maybe we're having a graduate brother that we know is successful and attended law school. Come in and talk about attire and etiquette at a dinner meeting. For Budgeting 101, maybe we have a business professor that we really enjoy working with, or the financial aid office should come in and give our members some information. Maybe your mom's a CPA, have her come in and do it. Career Connection with Campus Career Center, always an excellent opportunity to connect, particularly our first year students with the Career Center right away. Cooking class, that's a definite adult skill that we need folks to be able to do. Maybe you have a community kitchen or a campus kitchen, or just an older brother that really cares about his spaghetti sauce. And healthy relationships and violence prevention with the Campus Health Center. These are just some options. If there's other things that your chapter is already doing that you think would fit well in any of these categories, keep doing them. If you think that they'd be great for the entire international fraternity to hear about, shoot me an email. We'd love to add your ideas to this list. Our second section of the menu, key part, you'll also see in the descriptions there that there's a number assigned to each one of these. So for Adulting 101, you're selecting at least one to be completed each semester or quarter as part of the new member education process. So one out of this list. This one here has 2 activities that should be facilitated per year. Not for college days alone, is an introduction to graduate brotherhood. We know that it is key in terms of retention for graduate brothers to start when you're a new member. Hearing about graduate brotherhood should not occur when somebody's a senior. So this is an excellent opportunity for you to build your active and engaged graduate base right from the start. This not for college days alone menu experiences are 2 activities per year. So not counting that semester, right? A whole school year. And you can include pig dinner. So say you have a new member class in the fall, but your pig dinner isn't until the spring. That's okay because you have the whole year to get it done. Options outside of pig dinner include having a graduate brother panel facilitated by senior members of the chapter, presentation by your BCA or your PL about their roles, doing a series of video calls with graduate brothers in different professions. It's an excellent time to learn how to network, and particularly with the pandemic and things going virtual, you're going to be able to find a lot of graduate brothers that are willing to hop on a Zoom call or a phone call just for 20 minutes. Hosting your pig dinner with a reception either before or after that focuses on your new members is also another great opportunity. Another idea that one of our pilot chapters brought to my attention, they're a younger chapter, and so as part of that, what they did is went through and actually connected back with some of their founding brothers that had graduated just a year or 2 before and made kind of video diary vlogs as a introduction to graduate brotherhood, as well as a record for the future of how they were started. Success in college is, of course, a very crucial area. This is connecting members with your campus resources and making sure that your members are successful in the academic world. So your chapter should be hosting at least 2 of these events as part of the new member experience. We do want you to get these done within your 8, 6, or 4 weeks if possible. Of course, there's some wiggle room on that. We don't want you to overwhelm your calendar. But it is important that right from the start, your new members are connected with campus resources and, of course, putting scholarship first. So some ideas or options include time management in college, financial wellness in partnership with a graduate brother or the financial aid office. Call your student success office up and see what kind of study skill programs that they offer. A wellness event, I think that one's going to be a big hit. Call your campus health center and see if they offer any nutrition classes or anything like that. Mental health in college with the counseling center. We also offer Behind Happy Faces, if you're not familiar with that program, which is a peer facilitated program. So that's available at phigam.org, where you can have a really frank and solid conversation about mental health with your chapter or your new members. Unresponsible alcohol use. This is another great opportunity to talk about how we can double dip. So perhaps your fraternity and sorority life office or your interfraternity council is saying you need to do an alcohol program. Well, double dip, right? So do your IFC program, include it on your new member calendar, and you've hosted a Success in College event. And chapter in a book. You might have been wondering during the history section, but what about our chapter? We've pulled that out to make it an even stronger area because as part of building this out, we did tons of interviews to find out what do our members really think is important, and it came through loud and clear that local history was prized and valued by many of our chapters and that many of our colonies are excited to build their own local history. So in this section, we are looking for you to do one activity per semester. So some great options include a campus tour focusing on historical ties to your chapter or to Phi Gamma Delta or the fraternity system in general. Perhaps you're an old chapter and you have buildings on campus that are named after brothers. Go on a tour and tell those stories to your new members. Do a slideshow or a video describing significant events in the chapter's history. Assign your new members individual projects, focus on a specific event or specific member. Again, like the example that I'd mentioned before about the founding father kind of video diaries, that would also be a really great option under this category. Create a chapter timeline with significant events and members. It can even be a living timeline, right? So laying out all of your memorabilia, dusting it off, and doing a walkthrough timeline would be really interesting. Or maybe you got that guy that just loves history and is just like a total nerd, love that kind of guy. Put him in charge of this, right? So visiting campus archives to learn about Phi Gamma Delta chapter history, go dig through the dusty yearbooks, plaques and trophies and all kinds of different things that are really fun to look at. And this next menu list, ability, opportunity, and duty, the call to serve other. So this really focuses around service and philanthropy. So you should be doing at least 2 of these as part of the new member experience, but not more than 3 per semester or term. This is a, the reason that it's 2 and not more than 3 is because we want you to make sure that you're doing quality events and not just trying to fill a calendar. I will say that in all of the pilot groups, this was a breeze, right? Because we're already doing these things, but some options, if you don't already have an established service or philanthropy event that's occurring each semester or term. Some options include coordinate a voter registration drive, volunteer at a local community agency. I think that's very powerful. Find out what your community needs and then tackle that as courageous leaders. Partner with the campus civic engagement office on a series of events, or perhaps one of your brothers is involved on campus and can help provide you with some ideas around a series of events. Participate in a service break experience. If you've never had the opportunity to go on a service spring break, it is an excellent opportunity and probably something that your campus is already offering, so you don't even have to organize it. Host a fundraiser for one of our national partners, so the Red Cross, the USO, or Donate Life, which you may also have heard referred to as Immortal Phi Gam Project, which is eye and organ donation. And maybe you coordinate a donor drive in supporting that Immortal Phi Gam. I know we see a lot of chapters doing that, where we're doing virtual tabling or contacting folks to sign up as an eye, organ, and tissue donor. And our last bucket here is work and play. So this is all focused on brotherhood building and the creation of brotherhood through fun and some challenging activities. So we're looking at no more than 3, again, because we want you to be having quality experiences for your new members. So some options, but again, the sky's the limit here. High ropes course, a chapter retreat, perhaps you have a game night or a tournament night, sports activities, so maybe you play at the rec center, or you stream video games together, whatever that looks like. A shared meal with rotating discussion prompts. What that might look like is printing out some questions that you place around the table at your meals and have conversations answering those fun or quirky questions. A brotherhood discussion. So tough topics to optimize your brotherhood. What's going on in your chapter that would be best brought to the surface so that you can have some gavel passing time or otherwise brotherhood discussions. Do a day hike or other outdoor activity. That's a great opportunity for those of us that live in places where we can be doing that, because it's also a very easily social distanced activity, which we all know is still very important right now. So that brings you through all of the different types of experiences. So you've learned about all of these different things. So I do want to show you this table of contents so that you can see. It might feel a little bit overwhelming because we've gone through things a little bit quickly, but it all really does pull together when you think about the event experiences. There's just 3 of them. The learning experiences, there's just 3 of them. So we're going to plug those into the calendar, and then we're going to fill in our menu experiences. And this is actually the beginning of your facilitation guide. So as part of all of that, I did want to show you kind of the tools that come along to make sure that you are successful. So as part of your manual, you will receive this facilitation tools section so that you can become a better facilitator and really give your best. The other really kind of safe backup that this provides is maybe that person, maybe your new member educator is sick or you have somebody that needs to fill in last minute. You can hand them this and they can help themselves get prepared to facilitate. This includes some tips and tricks for using technology. So if you are in a region or campus that is still not allowing in-person events, this gives you some kind of tips for using technology to facilitate. So downloading the PowerPoint, actually that's a great tip, whether you be doing the program in person or over Zoom. But make sure that you have it in a safe and accessible area. Make sure that all your connections are working, right? Like there's nothing worse than getting there and panicking and trying to make sure your mouse works and your clicker works because you're in a classroom that you're not familiar with, right? Let's make sure that we're preparing ahead of time, because the more professional our new member educators are and our assistants and our potential big brothers are coming to these events, the more that your new members are going to see that that's part of your chapter culture to be prepared. And then facilitation is a skill that develops over time. Nobody's going to start from perfect, so make sure we're reviewing the curriculum. This is written so that if somebody needed to just show up the day of, you'd be okay, but you're going to do a much better job and be much happier if you review the curriculum early and often so that you're fresh on it. Go ahead and practice before your first program. And don't feel like you have to just read verbatim every single word. You can add your own voice and your own flair to the material. Ask for feedback that highlights your strengths and areas to improve next time. Have initiated brothers sit in and watch you and give you that critical feedback. Perhaps after a few times, ask for that feedback from your new members, do a written survey, make sure that you're getting that feedback loop closed so that you can apply any strengths or areas of improvement, you can apply that to your facilitation skills. Keep hydrated with your favorite water, tea, or juice. My personal favorite is a bubbly. Get yourself in a positive headspace to give your best to your brothers. I think that's the biggest trick is if you have had a bad day or had a rough class or had to have a test, try to leave that at the door and bring your best and bring a clear head for your new members. Environment does matter. So this section actually talks about the virtual environment. So ensuring that all new members have access to the virtual platform if you're using Zoom or Google Classroom or anything like that, make sure that all your new members can access it. And many campuses are still providing Zoom accounts for larger meetings. And if you're having trouble with that, please reach out to your field secretary so that we can connect you to something that will work well for your chapter. Practice sharing your screen and advancing slides before going live with a session. This guy right here is another great tip. It's just a regular clicker that you would use in a presentation, but it's easier for me to hold this here than to click in my, to advance those slides from my computer. But you do want to practice going back and forth, make sure everything works. Practice putting people into groups or breakout rooms for one-on-one or small group discussion. Would love a good breakout room. I know that it's not necessarily collegiate culture right now to have your videos on, but we do also encourage that you ask your new members to turn their videos on if that's appropriate. And ensure your meetings is secure, so use the waiting room, passwords to keep it private for members, type questions into the chat before sending new members into small breakout rooms. And again, consider having a new member education assistant, if not a committee, but somebody specifically that can help you manage technology features so that you can focus on the content. And if you are facilitating in person, there's some tips that go along with that as well. So this might be a little bit more familiar, uncomfortable, but some things to think about. So consider your tone and pick an appropriate space for learning. Classrooms are an excellent opportunity and space to be utilizing, and probably better than your fraternity house living room on some couches that have like been around for a while, right? So if folks are in a classroom at desks, in chairs, the tone was much different. Make sure the space is large enough to facilitate movement. So these activities do not ask that our new members sit around. We want to get up, we want to get moving. And especially for our physical learners, that's important. Another key piece there is ensuring that your space is large enough to social distance if that is still necessary. And of course, continue to wear your mask. Think about accessibility. What space meets your needs and is easily accessed by new members. So whether or not you have new members or chapter brothers that have access, maybe they access needs, maybe they use a wheelchair, or somebody has broken a leg and is using crutches or anything like that, think about that ahead of time. Don't try to scramble and book a different space. Always keep accessibility in mind because we want this experience to be something that everybody can access. Plan to arrive early to set up the space, make sure your technology is working and get settled, the computer's on and everything is ready to go. And leave the space better than you found it, right? Make sure that your chapter of Phi Gamma Delta is known by your custodial staff on campus as always leaving things pristine. This section just has some kind of key tips if you have a small new member class, which is 10 or less, or maybe you have a large new member class, which is 25 or more, and just some tips depending on where your chapter falls there. And key, a note on assessment. So you will have noticed throughout this program that there's no more quizzes. Maybe you're wondering, where'd the quizzes go? If you're doing your job as a facilitator and asking questions, you will know whether or not your new members have understood and grasped the information based upon the questions and the responses that you're receiving. They're engaging in a conversation will tell you far more than having your new members memorize and regurgitate on a test. Plus, you don't have to grade tests, so it's kind of a win-win. All right, and I said that this would all make sense, so we are gonna come back to the calendars that we started in. Again, this is what we've covered, right? So the event experiences, so these are triggered by certain milestones. They're kind of highly structured in the content and the prep, and they're all about transition into the next stage. So those three were the Brotherhood welcome, Big Little reveal, and post-initiation orientation. And then the learning experiences. So these may fall more into kind of that traditional onboarding experience that we're used to. These include the business of the fraternity, the legacy of the fraternity, and the history of the fraternity. These can be done in any order, in any way that you choose to put them. The event experiences do, of course, go in order, but these learning experiences, you can do them as you please. And then the menu experiences are those choose your own adventure, loosely structured activities that depend, there's the 6 of them, and then you're mixing and matching and bringing in outside facilitators and graduate brothers and, you know, using your networks to really create a holistic developmental experience for your new members. And how to build your calendar. First thing you're going to do is get your piece of paper ready. First thing you're going to do is get your campus's academic calendar, your chapter's calendar, your fraternity and sorority life calendar for campus, and lay all those events out. Put your bid day, count out your weeks to initiation, right? And then we can start laying in our experience types. So our 3 event experiences, one in the beginning, one in the end, and one in the middle. Our menu experiences, those can go ahead and fall in wherever we need them. And then our learning experience, because again, you're bringing in outside experts often, either folks that are not involved in the new member education program or on campus. So depending on their need for scheduling, things might be a little bit different. But as promised, I really hope that this calendar makes some more sense now that we're looking at it together, having gone through the whole program. I hope that this session has really helped you feel comfortable with the foundation program so that you are ready to take on bringing up some new courageous leaders within the organization this spring or fall, depending on when you're going to have a new member class. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. The slides and handouts and everything will be available on the website directly following Academy. Have an excellent weekend, and I hope you've enjoyed the session.